Okay, this one is tougher. There were a couple leagues that I had a tougher time with. The Sun Belt is a conference that I think of that has a lot of parity. The Big 12 is a conference that I think has a lot of parity. I think the SEC this year more than most will have a lot of parity, and I think that one was a little bit tougher. But we ultimately came to the conclusion that Tennessee was and Missouri were probably the easier schedule. Auburn on there as well. In the Big 12, CD and I both agreed, surprisingly, despite the parity, that BYU is the easiest schedule in the Big 12, closely followed behind maybe Houston. I don't know if CD has another one that he thinks might be a pretty decently easy schedule. But for BYU, there are a couple teams that you don't want to draw in the Big 12. Even with the large amount of parity, you're still going to end up with teams on your schedule that you don't want to see. But your tough games, Iowa State, you get at home. Texas Tech on the road, okay, it's fine. But you get them. You have a bye week before you go to Lubbock to play Texas Tech, so that's important, right? And then you're out of conferences: Portland State, Stanford, and East Carolina, right? So you do draw Utah, but guess what? You get them at home. A couple teams you don't want to see: Texas Tech. You don't want to see Arizona State, which you don't see on here. Iowa State could be on there. I don't know yet for sure. Baylor, I wouldn't want to see. Utah, I wouldn't want to see. You don't see Baylor. You don't see Arizona State. You get Utah and Iowa State at home, and you get Texas Tech on the road and a bye before that. So for that reason, I think BYU is the easiest schedule in the Big 12, but I do think it's kind of close. We can talk about Houston's schedule a little bit, but I do think BYU is probably the easiest. Do you agree with that? I mean,
Without
I
a
know you
doubt.
agree with that, but for the same reasons is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm not gonna hate any there. I will say Iowa State's on the road there, but I don't think that really changed the point there because it's gonna be a
Oh, it
much
is on the
different
road?
Iowa State team
I didn't
than we
write that
did
down.
see. That was in the Big 12 championship game. You've got a lot of guys missing out there, and we'll talk about that as we get in the Big 12 previews this summer. But yeah, I look at the out of conference and Portland State and Andrew Luck led Stanford, Frank Reich there, and even at East Carolina, who's a team that can do some damage potentially in the American, but not going to scare you against BYU. And then, like you said, Utah is always going to be a tough one for sure, but you get that at home, which is fantastic. And yeah, like teams you kind of want to see, I'll be honest, like UCF, West Virginia, Colorado, Arizona, like teams that, yes, can take a step. And it's so hard with the parity of the Big 12, like you talked about, to differentiate between some of those, middle to bottom tier teams. And it honestly depends. Like it's randomized. Like if you were talking about this 12 months ago and you're like, you see Arizona State on your schedule, you're like, yes, that's should be a win for us. And then all of a sudden they go and do their thing. So things can change pretty quickly. But yeah, as it stands right now, yeah, I like it. And even the way you can finish strong too. Obviously at Texas Tech is tough, but TCU, you get them at home, right? You get a chance there. Cincinnati on the road there. But again, like we'll see how they're going to be this year. And then UCF to finish it off. I like it, and we'll see what Kalani Sitake has for an encore from last year. What they got, cooking and brewing in Provo. It should be very fun, and obviously, like scheduling matters, and with the way that it shakes out in college football playoffs, it does. It absolutely. I hate to keep reinforcing that point, but it really does when we're talking about some of these teams that can win their conferences, especially with the way if you're gonna have an easy out of conference schedules, it doesn't even matter. Sometimes you can get that at large bid as well. So yeah, it'll be a fun conference to watch without a doubt. But BYU is the one.
Yeah. If you want to make the argument to me that Houston is an easier schedule with BYU, I'm willing to hear that, right? Oklahoma State is a team that you want to draw on your Big 12 schedule. All right. Oh, are you disagreeing with
Yeah,
that?
no, I just hate so early to be dissing Mike Gundy. I just hate it, but
Yeah.
it just
But
pains me. It's more so it just pains me.
and
But you're
Houston's out of
absolutely right.
conference is SFA, it's Rice, and it's Oregon State. Funny enough, it's Rice and Oregon State, I believe, are on the road. This is what I have manually written down. So
Yep.
that could be wrong from
No,
a
you're
transcript or whatever.
you're not. Which
And
by the way,
you're
we'll talk about this later on too. Like I love that. G5 schools should be hosting more P4 schools. Like I think that's fantastic. Especially like yeah, I'll put it right there. I'll put it right there. But I will
so
say with Houston, that scares me and why I ultimately believe BYU is harder. Like at Baylor and at Arizona State, I think are like
sure.
that's is really, really hard.
and Texas Tech is brutal. But your out of
Yeah, and you
conference
get
is
Texas Tech.
stinky doo doo, stinky, stinky, stinky. All right. You do get West Virginia, you do get UCF, and you do get Arizona, and you do get Oregon State or Oklahoma State on your schedule. And also, I think Vegas agrees with this as well. So if you want to make the argument, I'm fine. You know what Houston's win total is, CD? It is 6.5 after last season, which, by the way, I like Houston's roster. Sue me. Sue me for kind of liking Houston's roster. I read an article. I'm not going to name the person. But they were at CBS. And I'm not. They were trying to portray college football's or P4's worst quarterback situations in college football. They had Houston at 12. Oh, Connor Wigman and Zion Crease are all of a sudden bad quarterbacks? What are we talking? You are a national sports writer for CBS. They pay you professionally to cover college football. And by the way, you know where they have Minnesota ranked, Christopher? The second worst quarterback room or quarterback situation is what they said in college football, which if you read any practice reports on Drake Lindsay, you know that that's absolute blasphemy. All right, so
Well, these are the same people that thought fucking excuse my language, Zach Pyron was going to win that job, and he was taking
see ya,
fourth string reps there. It just
gone.
ridiculous. And listen, and we do it, and I will say, like, I feel like we do it with integrity. Like we do it with integrity in terms of trying to find actual credible information on everything. It's hard to go off from a national lens, but you have
It is.
resources. We're just two people with freaking microphones, and they.
Christopher, we have like what 680 subscribers. We have other jobs and full
Yeah,
time
that's
pursuing, and
crazy.
like it's ridiculous. Sorry for the rant, folks, but like that's pretty egregious. To say that Houston's quarterback situation is bad is you have a 5-star quarterback in your room who's been good, was battling injuries all of last year, was hurt on like the
And the year
13th
before,
snap
yeah.
of the game of the season, and then you have Zion Crease who dominated G5 when he was there, and then showed some explosiveness at Houston. Just the offense as a total wasn't great, and you got some sneaky names in it. Whatever. This isn't a Houston video, but I would make the argument that Houston's schedule could compete with BYU's in terms of easiest schedules in the Big 12.